Welcome, one and all, to yet another Deep Fat Fried. Oh, yeah.
I'm smoking my Gandalf pipe. Leave me alone, TJ.
Sorry, Paul. I didn't mean to interrupt. I know
Taking a big, nice, long drag off of my Gandalf pipe.
I know how inconvenient this can be at times.
I know you're jealous of my Gandalf pipe, too, TJ.
Yeah, because I used to have one and it broke.
I take good care of mine.
Yeah, apparently I didn't because mine broke.
I bought a stand for mine.
Damn.
And it goes on the stand.
As a gentleman would, unlike TJ, the uncouth piece of shit he is.
Yeah, I don't know what I did wrong.
Oh,
something.
Did I remember the day you broke Peace the fuck out, man?
You do.
I'm never gonna let it go. I know you're probably going, oh man, it's fucking years ago. Dude, I'm never letting it go because I've tried to find that pipe since then. I've never been able to find it. I've never been able to find anything even like it.
Yeah, man.
I've never broken anybody's pipe. Ever.
I mean,
I'm a careful smoker.
It was my pipe to break, but yeah, I did break it.
So I've been playing that new Final Fantasy VII remake, fellas.
Oh, what's the verdict?
It's a mixed bag, honestly.
Oh shit. Really?
See, I told you you'd get sick of being in Midgar, dude.
No, it's not that. It's honestly not that. I'm liking being in Midgar. The game is really weirdly made. It's super linear. Like there are long stretches of like cutscene shit where all you can do is like walk behind somebody as they talk. It's like they tried to translate Final Fantasy VII directly to a 3D environment, and I guess stuff that worked with like 2D sprites looks real awkward with 3D characters. But I don't know. It's fun. Combat's fun.
Well, that's all that matters, I guess.
That's the only thing that even matters. Well, they must have beefed up the story quite a bit. If you're in Midgar for like, I think you said the estimated play through time is like 30 to 40 hours just for the fact. Yeah, I mean, there's got to be more shit there then. So they had to
there's all kinds of little side quests, and yeah, they definitely added a bunch to it, and a lot of it looks really cool. It's cool to see like Midgar all updated and shit, but I don't know. There's parts of this game that there's no defending. Like there's just like long, boring segments of you walking behind somebody while they talk that you can't skip.
Well, that sounds fascinating. That sounds like the perfect game for TJ.
Yeah. Just walk behind people and listen to them talk, TJ.
Final Fantasy VII. Walk behind people and listen to them talk. In an all-new, sprawling, epic adventure.
And they went like over the top with the sexuality in it too. That might be something that you like.
Oh, holy
shit.
There's
no sex in it, but
is there
like Tifa's tits. There was a scene where
tell me more. Did she put up a fight?
Cloud was like standing over Tifa's shoulder talking, and the camera just like slowly zoomed in on Tifa's tits.
That's awesome.
While Cloud was talking from behind, there was no point to it other than we need to get the tit quotient up.
Wow, I fucking approve of this game all of a sudden.
See? And that's something they couldn't pull off with like the sprites and shit.
Yeah,
like, you had to imagine.
If they zoomed in on those tits, it'd just be like, oh man, them fucking polygonal blocks. Ooh.
Oh, it's tits and ass as far as the eye can see.
Well, you did that back in the day, though, TJ.
God damn. Time for me to get this fucking game. Tell you what.
Told you what. It lets you objectify all the female characters in it really easily.
Oh, man. Damn. God damn. It's a masterpiece. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10, sir. 10 out of 10.
Paul just sold a ton more people. They're like, I don't know about the game. You can objectify women as much as you want. Sold. Oh, God.
I'm there. I'm there.
you can't get a really good upskirt, which is kind of a...
Well, you know.
That's kind of a letdown. You know what I mean? There's a lot of times where, one of the chicks is climbing the ladder ahead of you. And,
yeah.
You can manipulate the camera a little bit, but you can't, they didn't... It's not a true upskirt, which is kind of disappointing, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go all the way, right? So we got two topics on today's show.
Two topics. Couldn't find one good topic on TJ.
The first topic is the truth behind the Holocaust.
Oh, wait a minute.
All right.
What?
The truth behind the Holocaust. All right, so let's dive right in. Let's dive right in.
So I've got a dentist
Let's not.
All right.
Yeah.
No, it's time
I've
for
got
the
a dentist
truth.
appointment.
It's
Gotta
time for
go.
the truth. Hey, people need to know the truth.
Yeah, something came up, so you guys are gonna have to
hold on.
know.
All right, so 6 million people died in the Holocaust. It was very tragic, and Hitler's a bad person. Anyway, our second topic is the police.
Oh. Well, I guess it's a slight improvement.
This is a police officer with some Aryan youths,
Some white children.
Yeah, and I just want you guys to know, the police officer is your friend. You know that?
Well,
Look at him here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's a friendly guy. Look at you can see behind all the stuff he does. He's apparently like a lifeguard at the pool, I guess.
He's a teacher.
Yeah, he teaches people. He helps kids cross the road.
He's a baseball coach,
I guess. Yeah, he's fucking
or an umpire.
He's a pillar of the fucking community. All right? He wants to help you. If you obey his commands and you show him respect, he will be very, very nice to you. After all, his purpose is to protect and serve. He is a bastion of moral goodness, an incorruptible symbol of law and order.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, TJ, so episode over?
Yeah, that's the end of the episode.
Look, this is the tank that's going to help you.
So anyway, as you all might have guessed, everything I just said is kind of fiction.
No, it's not. TJ, you stop that right now.
Yes, it is.
TJ, why would they have taken that picture if it was bullshit?
The police officer is not your friend. He wants to hurt you. If you don't obey his commands, he will probably beat the ever-loving shit out of you, or worse, and shoot your dog.
That's not true, TJ. It's anecdotal evidence.
He is there to protect and serve the state. He is a thug with a badge and a corrupt ball of slime. He's a tool of the powerful to keep you in line and a preserver of the status quo.
You're so full of shit, dude.
Why?
What do you mean why? Because none of those things, the police have never done any of those things, dude. None of them. Not one.
Not a single goddamn
They're innocent, dude.
one.
They're completely innocent.
So, if you start shit-talking the police, you'll have someone like Scotty crop up and start defending them. But don't be fooled by the supposed compromised position that you hear from a lot of these defenders. Because it's not like usually they won't outright deny that the police have done some fucked up shit. But they got this whole not all cops line that they trot out, There's just a few bad apples. And I thought John Oliver did a pretty good job on his show where he pointed out, and I don't know how I never fucking thought of it before, but the saying is not, it's just a few bad apples, so who cares? The saying is a few bad apples spoil the bunch. The fact is that no matter how nice any particular cop might be, and I mean, look, there's nice cops.
Of course
there's nice cops, but they're still fucking tools of an unjust fucking system, and I'm going to demonstrate that beyond any reasonable doubt.
I take issue with this image here.
Yeah.
This cop is actually trying to spray people with water, and it's been photoshopped to show him spraying something like I don't know, what is that, like
it's like that's pepper spray,
like pepper spray or bear spray or something like that's
industrial size pepper spray.
He was trying to cool those people down in their protest. He's like, they look hot and look thirsty. Have a nice cool drink of water and cool down, guys.
Yeah. Oops. It turns out it was bear mace. Sorry. My bad. Usually it's conservatives who, the same group of people who always like denounce like big government encroaching on my life. But then when it comes to the police, they want to worship at the altar of police power, which kind of astounds me, that incongruity where it's like, we hate state power, but we love the mechanism by which, the state exerts that power. I mean, it's kind of like one of the little intricacies of the conservative mindset. And, it's not like you can get one of them to fucking explain it to you either. If you actually fucking ask them about this shit, they don't have any good answer for why that is. They just kind of
All right, TJ, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Okay, someone breaks in your house.
Yes.
What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna call the police.
Why?
Because
Why would you call them? They're just brutal thugs there to oppress you, TJ. Wouldn't you be better off taking up your own arms and defending your own property, TJ?
I mean, maybe it would. I don't know. But if I do that, the police are still gonna show up at some point. So,
like, so there you go, TJ. Keeping law and order, TJ.
One way or another, the police are gonna get involved. I'll tell you what. If I did call the police from someone breaking into my house, I'd make sure I put Salvador away before they arrived.
Oh, they'd probably just give him a little pat on his head. Talking about, TJ, this episode is already ridiculous, dude. I'll play along because you play along with my bullshit, TJ. But let's just be clear what we're doing here.
So, how do the police operate? Now, obviously, we don't have the time to go over every single aspect of policing in America. There's just way too much. But I've kind of narrowed it down to 7 reasons that the police are not your friends.
7 lies.
7 lies. 7 lies by some fucking crazed anti-authoritarian leftist. So the first one is civil asset forfeiture. Let's get that nice and big there. So, police abuse of civil asset forfeiture laws has shaken our nation's conscience. That's a excerpt from the ACLU website. I would never write such a sentence because I don't believe our nation has a conscience. But whatever. That's the ACLU talking, not me. Civil forfeiture allows police to seize and then keep or sell any property they allege is involved in a crime. Owners need not ever be arrested or convicted of a crime for their cash, cars, or even real estate to be taken away permanently by the government.
So there are cops that use this literally to rob vendors.
No, it's very widespread.
It happens in New York a lot. Like, people set up a stall or whatever and they're selling some shit. Yeah. Cop comes and claims they don't have the right permit and just takes everything in the till and walks away.
Yeah.
Probably a front for drugs.
As we'll fucking see, this really is just a system of legalized robbery. Forfeiture was originally presented as a way to cripple large-scale criminal enterprises by diverting their resources. But today, aided by deeply flawed federal and state laws, many police departments use forfeiture to benefit their bottom lines, making seizures motivated by profit rather than crime fighting. For people whose property has been seized through civil asset forfeiture, legally regaining such property is notoriously difficult and expensive, with its costs often exceeding the value of the property. Oops. Where'd that go? I think I accidentally closed the window I was trying to open there.
Drug-addled TJ came and run a show. You know, TJ's probably so high from all the drugs you do.
Yeah, probably. Here,
besmirching the fine law enforcement officers.
So, look, TJ, these guys have never taken anything unjustly. They saw these guys, like Paul, you talk about those vendors. Those vendors are probably selling coke or crystal meth or who knows what, or robbing children or something.
So here's a guy. This is a dude named Phil Parhamovich.
Whoa, I was not expecting that last name.
Bless you.
Parhamovich! Excuse me. This guy, he got a pretty raw deal. He'd been waiting for his moment for a long time. He was 50 years old. He had spent years and years of his life restoring and selling houses, cars, and musical instruments. He would work up to 12 hours a day, and he was working in pursuit of a dream. He saved up $91,000, and he was going to go buy a music studio in Madison, Wisconsin. It's a studio where Nirvana and Smashing Pumpkins had recorded some songs. And he wanted to get this studio for himself because he's an aspiring musician. He wanted to have this studio space so that, he could rent it out to musicians that wanted to use it, and also he could use it to work on his own space. This is
his lifelong dream.
This is the American dream, right? You work hard, you save up some money, you go fucking, follow some dream you have. His dream was
to probably did it, TJ. Wow, while we're hearing about this guy, TJ, he's living the dream.
So then came the police. The the police stopped this past March. By the time it was over, police in Wyoming would take all of Parhamovich's money, the full $91,800. Parhamovich, who has no criminal record, was not accused or charged with any serious crime, only got a $25 ticket for improperly wearing his seatbelt and a warning for lane use. But Wyoming law enforcement officers found and eventually seized the $91,800 in cash as it was hidden in a speaker cabinet. Now, why he didn't have it in the bank, I don't know. I probably would have kept it in a bank personally, but he had it in cash.
I mean, look, TJ,
which is not against the law.
The story sounds really nice. Sounds really great. Sounds like a lot of bullshit, TJ. He was on that trip to Madison, Wisconsin to buy $91,000 worth of drugs.
Yeah, because you gotta go to Wisconsin to get them drugs, man. That's where the good drugs
that's
are.
Where his hookup was, man. I'll tell you, TJ. His hookup was in West. I'm sorry, I can't even keep it up anymore.
So basically they got him. Not only did they find his money, but they fucking basically, under threats and duress, got him to sign away his interest to his money on the spot.
Well, I'll tell you why it was in a speaker thing. It's because this dude saved up this money for years, and he doesn't want someone just to go and fucking roll up on him and take the money. It's like, if it's in a fucking speaker. Yeah, I mean, and why were the cops searching his vehicle to begin with? If he had no actual drugs on him, what was the probable cause? Like, they're just shaking people down, clearly.
Yes, it was obviously a shakedown. So he's since tried to get his money back, but state law enforcement officials have rejected his pleas, responding to requests for records related to Parhamovich's case. State officials said they consider the cash abandoned.
Abandoned in their coffers.
Yeah. Abandoned down some fucking boondoggle rabbit hole in this county for sure.
Now, there is a happy ending for Phil, because once the media picked up his story, the department was just like, just give it back. Just give it back. We don't need this fucking scrutiny.
Of course.
And, it's no wonder they're trying to avoid scrutiny for this fucking scheme they got going. Damn it. Whatever. So in the past 2 decades, the police have seized. I'll let you guys guess how much money the police departments have made on the civil asset forfeiture across the country. Past 2 decades, federal government, how much money have they taken?
$3.2 billion.
How much, Scotty?
$3.2 billion.
$3.2 billion, says Scotty. What do you think, Paul?
I'm gonna say like 200 or 300 million.
200 or 300 million. Okay. In the past 2 decades, the federal government took $36.5 billion
oh my God.
in assets.
What?
Police seized from people on America's roads and in its poorer neighborhoods, many of whom were never charged with a crime or shown to have drugs. $36.5 billion. Most of the money seized by this civil asset forfeiture process returns to the law enforcement agencies that seized it, providing funds for a variety of law enforcement needs and desires, including exercise equipment, squad cars, jails, military equipment, and even a margarita maker in one case.
Hey, not to mention fat salaries for, all the upper command guys.
Oh, yeah.
What? Paul, how can you say that?
So, civil asset forfeiture is a controversial law enforcement tactic that is based on a legal fiction dating back to the days of the pirates. The fiction is that property can be criminal. Police can seize property they think is connected with a crime, even if they don't charge the owner of the property with a crime, just as navies seized pirate ships in colonial days. The practice skirts the Fourth Amendment's guarantee that Americans are free from unreasonable searches and seizures, and it provides a potentially corrupting incentive for police to circumvent the law to fund their departments. So, if you look at the court cases that involve some of these civil asset forfeitures, it'll be like, case names like, the United States versus $10,000 in cash. The United States versus an IKEA couch, Well,
you know what they probably do, too.
Because the crimes, it's basically they're charging the property itself with a crime.
Because obviously if they charge you, then you have constitutional rights. So it's basically some way of saying, because if they charge you and they say, hey, TJ, we stole your shit, basically, or we seized your stuff, that you can go to court and make an argument and then have a ruling, and then eventually you could have a legal precedent saying, hey, you can't do this anymore. So instead, if they charge the property, they never have to bother with that. They never have that day where it's like, okay,
yeah, you're
the $10,000 is suing the United States government.
Your $5,000 in cash does not have any constitutional rights, so they bring charges up against it. That's a criminal. That's a criminal stack of money.
But like habeas corpus, you can't charge a non-human being with a fucking crime.
Well,
welcome to America.
In this country, you can, Paul. In this country,
I mean, I guess you can charge a corporate entity with a crime. So
you can charge anything you want with a crime. You could charge
corporations are people, my friend.
You could charge a Cadillac with a crime. This Cadillac was used in a criminal enterprise.
Yeah, but what did that dude's $91,000 do? That was innocent cash.
No, they just say like, "Oh, this is drug money. We're taking it."
Well, it's a really interesting process. You have to then prove the money is not drug money or whatever they allege.
So unlike in a unlike if you were tried with a crime, it would be innocent until proven guilty. If they decide that some object or some amount of money is guilty of a crime somehow, it's guilty until proven innocent. And if you show up to challenge this stuff, you're not going to see it. It's not going to be a judge overseeing the proceedings. It's going to be a prosecutor.
I see.
So
it's just a kangaroo court,
right?
So that they can extract money from you.
So this is literally nothing more than a system of legalized robbery that has been going on for decades and has netted law enforcement billions of dollars in profit.
I think some states, I don't know if you covered this. I think some states have banned this, though.
Doesn't matter. I'll tell you why. Here's the laws by state right here. So you see all these, we don't really need to get into it too much. All these states, plenty of states have these little laws like, oh, Colorado says there has to be clear and convincing evidence. Okay, cool. Delaware, probable cause. Owner can rebut by a preponderance of the evidence. Okay. Florida, beyond a reasonable doubt that the property is linked to a crime. Oh, wow, you got to have preponderance of evidence, preponderance of evidence, preponderance of evidence, blah, 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 blah. Guess what? None of that matters. You know what this is?
Nope.
That's a loophole.
It's a rope.
That is a loophole, sir.
Oh, a loophole. Got it.
It doesn't matter. Federal loophole. Law enforcement agencies can circumvent state restrictions on the use of forfeited property through the federal equitable sharing programs, under which the Justice Department adopts a forfeiture and sends up to 80% of the money back to local law enforcement to spend. So all they have to do is say, they can. So basically, if their state says, okay, we're not doing, you got to have a crazy amount of evidence to do this civil forfeiture, the police just say, all right, well, this isn't a state bust, this is a federal bust. They send the money or whatever it is on to the federal government. The federal government sends like 80% back, keeping 20 for itself.
It's like the mafia, dude.
Yeah.
kick the money upstairs, they'll kick some back to you.
Yeah.
Look, you gotta pay the federal government as 20%, but you get to keep 80. Just keep on robbing.
And this is all these states that have tried so hard to pass some kind of laws against this stuff, like some states said, there's been a few states that are like, oh, well, all right, we'll allow it to go on, but it's going to fund education because that'll take away the incentive for them to just, wantonly go out there and steal people's money. But, they just stopped doing it on the state level. They just started doing it on a federal level. They're just like, oh, yeah, this is a federal bust.
It's it really is the mafia. It's like, oh, yeah. We made a good score today, knocking over that old farmer that had $100,000 squirreled away in his attic, but don't touch that 20,000. That goes straight to the big man, okay? The big man always gets his cut. We send it right up the stream to the big man, okay? And then the 80%, we chop it up.
So beautiful. So this loophole, as I said, has been used to circumvent pretty much any state-level attempt to control or mitigate civil forfeiture laws. Police departments continue to operate a system of legalized theft to fund themselves, with very little that one can do to defend against it. 9 out of 10 forfeitures go uncontested because it usually costs more money to recoup your property than it does to just take the hit.
Yeah, if it's $5,000 and they're telling you you're gonna have to do this and this and hire a lawyer, and by the time you're looking at it, it's like the lawyer's like, okay, well, it's gonna be $10,000 to represent you. You're just gonna go, well, I guess I lost $5,000.
Yeah, so the only people that really stand up for their property are the ones who I guess have so much that it's worth it to spend the money to get the money back.
The one time I've heard about it, it's like a substantial sum of money, and the people are well off, and they're like, no, it's more like the principal, like no, and then what happens is the prosecutor and the state will go back and forth, like, okay, well, we'll give you 80% of your money back, or we'll give you this much percent of your money back. We're gonna keep this for processing or whatever. It's like it's like no, you took the money from me for no good reason. There's a story about these two guys who were professional poker players that happened to them. They had this back and forth, and they're just like, no, we're not going to yield. And it's like they don't. But it's like that's crazy. Because you think about that, it's like you have to literally be someone who's really well off to even contest this. It's like the average person, like you said, there's just no way. If it's $5,000, what are you going to do? It's $20,000. Like if it's going to cost $20,000 to get the $20,000 back, there's no point.
Right. So that's pretty much how the state can steal anything of yours they want at any time, and you have no recourse, including your house. I mean, they've seized houses with this shit before.
Oh yeah. I mean, there are various levels of this. Like eminent domain is kind of the same shit.
You actually have more legal rights against eminent domain than you do against this, though.
Depending on where you are.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Well, it's been litigated by the Supreme Court. Like now, they can still take your shit, but they have to pay you like more money. Basically, is what it is.
Yeah, at least you get some restitution there.
but you can fight. Eminent domain cases can go on a long ass time. Like eventually, basically, the long and the short of it is the government will eventually get your land, but those cases can take up to 10 years. That's a big deal with the wall. Because I did research on the wall, and that was the big thing about eminent domain. It was like, yeah, the federal government will probably eventually get your land, but you can tie them up in court for fucking decades.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting one to do. Eminent domain.
I mean, ultimately, like, yeah, they pay you, you get a little restitution for eminent domain, but they just came into your house and told you, like, this is ours now, and here, you're going to take this money for it.
Well, it's a little better than this because they can just be like, your house was used in the commission of the sale of drugs. It's ours now. Get out.
Right.
So that's a little worse.
But the thing is too, it's like they're not going to do it. Like imagine some huge apartment complex owned by some fucking rich dude. They ain't coming in fracking down his ass. They're just going to go, we're going to take the contents here. We all know how the law works. If you're wealthy and connected, no one's coming to take your shit. Yeah, the police aren't going knocking on your door going, we're seizing these assets. Like those cops will be out of a fucking job tomorrow. But if they go do it to some schlub on the street, they're going to get a pat on the fucking back.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they'll clear out your life savings like they did with old Phil in that one story. But yeah,
there's so many crazy stories. Like, dude, I heard this story about this fucking guy that like he got like someone gave him like $20,000. And it's like mom saved up money. It's like, okay, you go on this like world trip or whatever the fuck it was, and he smoked weed. And he went to the airport, sees like the $25,000, whatever it was, and that was it. It's like, nope, that's all gone. Have a nice life.
That's all drug money.
You smoked a little reefer? Well, we got to take all your money, son. It's like, okay, great.
Reason number 2 that the police officer is not your friend. Increased militarization. The images on the news of police wearing helmets and masks, toting assault rifles, and riding in mine-resistant armored vehicles are not isolated incidents. They represent a nationwide trend of police militarization. Federal programs providing surplus military equipment, along with departments' own purchases, have outfitted officers with firepower that is often far beyond what is necessary for their jobs as protectors of their communities. Sending a heavily armed team of officers to perform normal police work can dangerously escalate situations that need never have involved violence. SWAT teams, which were originally devised as special responders for emergency situations, are deployed for drug searches more often than they are for any other purposes combined.
Well, you know what the catalyst for this mass militarization was?
Go ahead.
The race riots and shit in the 60s through the 90s. It like slowly allowed cops to justify dressing like literal stormtroopers to walk around these gang neighborhoods and shit. Oh, these gangsters, these gang members have AKs and shit.
We're outgunned on the streets.
So we got to have tactical gear to deal with it.
Remember that was. Oh, God.
I mean, that was really that's the impetus that they used. It was, in order to keep you safe, we need to be literal stormtroopers.
So the change in the change in equipment is too often paralleled by a corresponding change in attitude, whereby police conceive of themselves as at war with communities rather than as public servants concerned with keeping communities safe.
Well, let me tell you something. Like, a lot of it's military surplus stuff, but it's also the fact that, like, policing used to be like a career. It wasn't like, oh, okay, you know, you go in the military and then you become a cop. And like a lot of cops are ex-military now. So it's like they bring that mentality to it. It's like, we're in a war and we're losing it. We're outgunned on the streets, outmanned. It's a desperate battle against the criminal.
Yeah, and by the way,
they're right. They're right to feel that way, in my opinion. They are at war with these communities. I mean, look at them. You know, they're treating people in American cities like they treat insurgents in war zones.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at this guy here. I mean, what threat is he at? The picture you have back there, TJ. What threat is he to those cops? I mean, realistically, his hands are in the air. There's like fucking 20 of them pointing fucking assault rifles at him. It's like, come on, dude.
So this is a brief sort of history of the police and how they became militarized. It all began during Prohibition in the 1920s. Organized crime got its first foothold in American life thanks to the lucrative black market in liquor. This was also the golden age of bank robbery, with figures like Bonnie and Clyde, Pretty Boy Floyd, and John Dillinger becoming folk heroes. The Thompson submachine gun and the Browning automatic rifle were increasingly used by these crime stars.
The Tommy gun.
On the flip side, the Prohibition era saw domestic police departments using automatic weapons, armored vehicles, and ammo developed with the express purpose of being able to penetrate the early bulletproof vests worn by gangsters of the era. Overall crime increased by 24% during the first 2 years of Prohibition. This included, what a great fucking idea. This included a 9% increase in theft and burglary, a 13% increase in homicides, and a 13% increase in assault and battery. Because the police were busy fighting the scourge of demon rum, it was difficult for them to target crimes unrelated to this. In fact, a study of South Carolina counties that enforced Prohibition versus those who didn't found a whopping 30 to 60% increase in homicides in the counties that enforced the law. A few decades later, America saw another wave of police militarization during the race riots, which, Paul, you brought up a moment ago, including the Watts riot and the 1967 riots in Detroit, as well as increasingly militarized organized crime, thanks in part to the beginnings of the war on drugs. Incidents like the 1986 FBI Miami shootout and the North Hollywood shootout of 1997, which was totally crazy, by the way, were game changers for law enforcement weaponry and equipment due to officers not having sufficient stopping power during these notorious shootouts. So, there's been an escalation on the streets of America where, as the criminals get better and better weapons, the cops get stronger and stronger weapons. But it comes to the point where, the police, I mean, they have such advanced weaponry and they're willing to use it. They don't use it judiciously. They use it pretty much in every fucking case. So the mantra becomes total overkill in every situation. And that's why you see, every time there's a fucking guy sitting around in his fucking living room, and they decide they're going to come arrest him, it's like 9,000 cops in fucking military riot gear fucking burst through his fucking wall and start throwing flashbangs around and shit, Get down, get down.
It's like, what's even crazier is when they fucking, like, let's say this guy lives in an apartment complex, and instead of, unit 10, I'll take it from here, 1033, it's 1034 they go into. So his dog jumps up. What? They kill the dog. They point a gun at him. They shove a gun into his face. And this person is not even involved in anything. There's no warrant out for his arrest. There's no probable cause to go into his house. They violated about every right he has. It's like, they don't give a shit. And it's all for something where it's like, oh, what was the deal? Oh, we thought this guy was selling pot or something.
So I wanted to, this is an old story, but it's one I never heard of before. and I wanted to. I don't know if you guys have heard of this. This is the bombing of Move, May 13th, 1985.
Yeah, I've heard of this.
Yeah, so this happened in Philadelphia. This is the Black liberation group Move was founded in 1972 by John Africa, born Vincent Leapart. Living a community in a house in West Philadelphia, members of Move all changed their surnames to Africa, shunned modern technology and materialism, and preached support of animal rights, revolution, and a return to nature.
In West Philadelphia, born and raised.
Yeah, if they had just excised revolution, the police probably wouldn't have given a shit about them. But that part, they're definitely going to take an interest.
Their first conflict with law enforcement occurred in 1978 when police tried to evict them from their house. A firefight erupted, killing one police officer and injuring several more on both sides. 9 members of the group were sentenced to 100 years in prison for the officer's killing. In 1981, the group moved to a row house on Osage Avenue. And you see here, this is what was left after the devastation. Because basically, I don't want to read. This is a whole long article, but basically, the police decided that the best way to deal with this organization was to literally drop a fucking bomb on them.
How did they even get a bomb?
I don't know, but they literally bombed an American city to fight this gang. They ended up making a shit ton of people homeless, probably a bunch that had literally nothing to fucking do with this. So not only that, not only did they bomb these buildings, these houses, but they pretty much shot at anybody who fucking tried to run away too. I think they burned down like a shit ton of city blocks and stuff. You know, this is 1985. You know, this happened same year I was born. And, you know, I've never heard of this story my entire fucking life until, not today, but, you know, yesterday when I was doing this research, or the day before.
Yeah, I didn't remember all the particulars of it, but I've heard this story before. And it's pretty unbelievable. Like, if there wasn't such great documentation of it, it's a story that you'd likely disbelieve.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
we don't know, too, as far as I remember, nobody knows exactly what kind of ordinance was used in this. And so the military might have been involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they, I believe they killed 5 adults and 6 children were killed. I believe that whatever they dropped from a helicopter. And I believe that, like, something like 900 people were made homeless by this because the fire couldn't be contained and it just spread wildly. So this is, you know, and this is
this was like fucking.
This is
just after World War II. I'd believe you.
Right. This is just a literal example of the American police, you know, treating our country like a fucking war zone.
And sadly, not the only one.
No, but definitely a crazy example of just that.
Yeah, for sure.
And not even the only example of police bombing predominantly black communities in America, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should. I mean, well, whatever. We'll get to that at the end. So increased militarization. That's number 2. And obviously, I mean, like. I just want to say each and every one of these things that I'm covering here could probably be its own show.
Sure.
But we got to move on. Number 3, they'll kill you for pretty much no good reason. So let's first look at some statistics here. Police killed 1,099 people in 2019. All right. So you see that going on there. There were only 27 days in 2019 where police did not kill someone. And, of course, there were multiple days where they killed multiple people. Here's some statistics by race here. Black people are most likely to be killed by police.
What a shock.
3 times more likely to be killed by police than white people. 1.4 times more likely to be unarmed compared to white people. Where you live matters. 6 times more likely to be killed by police in Oklahoma than in Georgia.
Damn. Who knew?
That's for black people, killings of black people.
Right.
8 of the 100 largest police departments kill black men at higher rates than the U.S. murder rate. And you see this line is the murder rate. You see that.
Don't go to Reno.
Yeah, if you're black, stay the fuck out of Reno, I guess.
Oklahoma
Oklahoma City,
don't
Santa
go
Ana,
there.
Anaheim, St. Louis City, Scottsdale, and Hialeah.
Scottsdale is weird to me because Scottsdale, Arizona is like an upscale suburb of fucking Phoenix. Unless there's another Scottsdale I don't know about.
Hey, Madison, Wisconsin. That's surprising. Las Vegas, Spokane, Washington, Riverside, California, Albuquerque, Orlando. It's all over the country too. It's like some of it's the West Coast, some of it's the East Coast, some of it's the South.
So levels of violent crime in U.S. cities do not determine rates of police violence, violent crime rates, and rates of killings by police in America in 50 largest cities. So you see here, these are the cities listed below. They're really small, so they're kind of hard to read. But you see here that, the cities with the highest, kill rates are not necessarily the ones with the highest crime rates. You see that they've ordered the levels of police killing from highest to lowest, but you see that there's no pattern whatsoever to the violent crime rates. There seems to be no correspondence there at all.
It seems to be up to the culture of the police department, how many people end up being killed.
So Buffalo, New York, population 258,959. About 50% people of color. Violent crime rate 12 per 1,000. 0 people killed by the Buffalo Police Department from 2013 to 2016. Orlando, Florida, about the same population. A little lower percentage of people of color, but pretty close. Violent crime rate, a little lower, but close. 13 people killed. There is no accountability. 99% of killings by police from 2013 to 2019 have not resulted in officers being charged with a crime. There are proven solutions. Police departments that have adopted these use of force policies kill significantly fewer people, but few departments have adopted them. So here's some policies here, and here's the percentage they reduce this by.
What are some of those policies? Requires officer to use all other means before shooting.
That lowers it by 25%.
Requires all use of force be reported. I mean, like these seem like really common sense.
Yeah, bans chokeholds and strangleholds. Has use of force continuum. I don't know what that means. Requires de-escalation, which just should be part and parcel of what a cop does. Duty to intervene if another officer uses excessive force. Restricts shooting at moving vehicles. Requires warning before shooting. So there's your... there's some solutions. This is all stuff that just seems pretty fucking common sense. I don't know about has use of force continuum. I don't know what that means, but
the reality is that everything possible should be done. Like every police department should have all these policies in place. I mean, unless like the only time I can understand a police shooting is if someone comes out and is either shooting at them or points a gun at them.
Yeah, obviously, of these 1,099 people, I'm sure that some of them
did that.
There was a justification for them to be shot.
Of course, there's always gonna be someone.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously people that fucking come out in a fucking blaze shooting at the police. I mean,
but no one's questioning that. No one, if people question that, and I've seen the shootings like that question, like, why did that have to happen? It's like, well, you're dumb. I mean, if someone's shooting at you, and I mean, that's why they're there. That doesn't make any sense. But that's not the majority of these cases. A lot of times, there's people they reach for something, and the cop gets scared and unloads on them. That's totally different. We're talking about cases. Obviously, this number, like you said, it's inflated, but there's also things that track the number of unarmed police shootings. I suspect those are, maybe it's not 1,099, but it's probably 700-800.
I mean, there's definitely a lot of that. I looked at this use of force continuum.
Okay. Yeah, maybe you can explain that if you have a minute.
It's basically from what I can understand here, and I'm looking at the National Institute of Justice's definition of it, and they've got a list of so it's basically like a list of graduating responses that each have a unique trigger.
Right.
So they have an example here, and I'll read through it. I guess it's not that long. So the first one is officer presence, no force is used. This is considered to be the best way to resolve a situation. So it's just being there prevents something. Then the next level is the mere presence, or sorry, this is underneath that. The mere presence of a law enforcement officer works to deter crime or diffuse a situation. Officers' attitudes are professional and non-threatening. So that's continuum. That's number one on the continuum. Second one is verbalization. Force is not physical. Officers issue calm, non-threatening commands, such as let me see your identification and registration. Officer may increase their volume and shorten commands in an attempt to gain compliance. Short commands might include stop or don't move. So, at this point, it's just words being used. That's what it is. I won't read the whole thing.
So it basically just details. So what they mean by continuum is a continuum of escalating responses. Like, okay,
right.
You
so
this,
you try this, and if this works, great.
Then you go to this, then you go to this, then you go to this. So it's basically like you don't escalate any further than is absolutely necessary for the situation, basically.
And the last thing on the continuum is lethal force.
Right.
And it says officers use lethal weapons to gain control of a situation should only be used if a suspect poses a serious threat to the officer or other individual.
Okay. So once again, sounds completely reasonable. All right, so let's look at some specific instances of the police killing people. Maryland cop charged with murder after shooting handcuffed man in police car, chief says. A Maryland police officer is facing a second-degree murder charge after allegedly shooting a man who was handcuffed behind his back and sitting in the front seat of a police car Monday. Prince George's County Police Chief Hank Stowinski announced murder, manslaughter, assault, and weapons charges at a Tuesday press conference. Corporal Michael Owen Jr., a 10-year force veteran, allegedly shot the man, William Green, 43, of Washington, D.C., 7 times. I have concluded that what happened last night is a crime. Good for you, Stowinski said. There was no reasonable explanation for the events, he said. The incident occurred in Temple Hills, a suburb of Washington, about 8 p.m. after police received a 911 call about a driver who struck multiple cars, said Christina Cotterman, a spokeswoman for Prince George's County Police Department. So basically, cop gets called. Some guy's driving reckless, hitting some other cars. They get him. They arrest him. They fucking have him cuffed in the patrol car. And then this cop, I don't know, maybe something was said to him or something. He snapped for some reason and put fucking 7 bullets in the guy.
Well, he was executed.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way. That's an extrajudicial killing. There's no other way to look at it. The guy was handcuffed. He's already taken into custody. At that point, he has a duty to actually protect that guy. I mean, despite if that guy's like making threats to him, that's fine. Charge him with additional shit. Putting a bullet in his head is not really the solution.
A police officer who fatally shot Kansas man in swatting case won't be charged. You guys might remember this case. This was the prank, the swatting prank, quote unquote. The Kansas police officer who shot and killed a man on his front porch last December following a prank call will not be charged, the county's district attorney announced Thursday. Andrew Finch was killed after police responding to a 911 call that alleged someone at his Wichita, Kansas address had shot his father and was holding his remaining family hostage with a gun. When police responded, Finch answered the knock on his door and stepped into the doorway, according to police. Finch initially complied with an order to raise his hands, according to police accounts, but then lowered his hands and reached for his waistband. An officer opened fire and Finch was killed, according to police.
Okay.
The officer believed Mr. Finch was the suspect who had shot his own father and had been holding his young brother and mother hostage, Sedgwick County District Attorney Mark Bennett said Thursday.
Yeah, but the problem with that is that's based on one report. You're supposed to investigate that. I mean, sure, obviously they can respond and say what's going on, but that force continuum is like it went from 0 to 100. Like it's like they're heavily armed. He goes outside. He reaches down for who knows what reason, but they didn't see it. They didn't say they saw a gun. They say he just reached down, and that's basically authorization to kill him.
Yeah, the only evidence they had that this guy had done any of this was a single anonymous phone call.
Just an evidence.
Yeah, and that that's all they needed to confirm this crazy story about this dude holding his family hostage in this house. And that they didn't there was no investigation. It's just like, oh shit.
They didn't go to the neighbors like, did you guys hear gunshots? Did you guys hear something going on? Has been a disturbance here? Nothing. Just like, nope, this guy is guilty. That's it.
I mean,
this wasn't
typically there's going to be multiple calls too from something as big as a lot of these swatting calls allege.
Right. So I mean, like, you get one fucking anonymous call, which, by the way, the house that got swatted wasn't even the intended target of the swatting. Anyway, this officer perceived these moments by Mr. Finch and believed the subject that he was looking at, Mr. Finch, was reaching for the gun that he would have used to shoot his father moments earlier. The officer believed he saw a gun come up in Mr. Finch's hand. The officer stated that he discharged his weapon, thinking that Mr. Finch presented an imminent risk to the officers.
This is a cover-up, dude. They realized they killed a guy that was unarmed on his front fucking porch. And then it was suddenly the police union, and they all get involved and said, this is how you need to write the story. You believe there was a threat. You believed you saw a gun. You believed.
Yeah, it was what a series of faith-based statements.
Yeah, I believe God would stop the bullets if it was unjust. I mean, come on.
Well,
how far are you going to go with this bullshit?
If this cop sees guns where they don't exist, then he needs to not be a cop anymore at the very least.
His eyesight checked.
So the family is devastated and disappointed by the district attorney's decision. Strauss said in a statement, Annie Finch was unjustifiably and unconstitutionally executed in the sanctity of his own home. Yep, I would say that's accurate. But there will be no justice for him. And this is I think this is the dude who made the call.
This is the swatter, yeah.
Yeah, he's charged with a crime, which I agree he should be.
Yeah,
but
I think he's doing 20 years.
What about the cop that actually shot the guy for no good reason? Like, nothing for him. He's just okay. He's fine.
I mean, even if they believed it was in the course of his duty that he's supposed to do it, and whatever, they're not going to charge him with a crime, he should at least be removed from policing. He shouldn't be a cop anymore.
If the police, if the fucking police respond to any fucking incident that's reported like this with lethal force, then of course you can use them as an instrument of murder. At some point, that becomes their fault and not the fault of the guy making the fucking phone call. Because if the police were reasonable, no one would have been fucking shot over this dude's prank call.
Right.
So more stuff. So I tried to pull as few videos as possible, but there's still quite a few videos in here.
I've seen the video, so yeah, this is.
But you guys are probably pretty familiar with this. This is the Walter Scott video.
Yeah.
And this is NBC News version of it here. The long and short of it is that he's going to get shot while he's running away.
Right.
Right.
I mean, that's murder.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he does also attempt to plant something on the body afterwards, although when he realizes he's being filmed, he quickly removes it. But, it was probably some kind of attempt to justify the show. Oh, he had this. He had this thing.
Yeah, of course.
Just a brazen act of murder, shooting a person who's running away from you. You can't make any sort of claim of any sort of imminent threat to your life from a person who's running in the opposite direction.
Well, a lot of people with concealed carry courses, it's like they tell you if someone running away from you, you don't shoot them because obviously at that point it's not if they can't be a threat to you if they're running away. You know what I mean? Like maybe they were a threat a minute ago, but if you pull a gun on them and they start running, I mean, obviously he was trying to escape that cop, and for whatever reason, he just shot him in the back.
So this is one of the
what happened to that cop
that we're about to find out.
He was
making national headlines. Former police officer Michael Slager now sentenced for the fatal shooting of an unarmed black man after a traffic stop. Here's ABC's Steve Osunsami tonight.
The former South Carolina police officer in this alarming cell phone video is headed to federal prison tonight for 20 years, one of the longest sentences ever handed down to an officer.
One of the longest sentences ever, dude. 20 years.
And he basically had to be caught on video shooting him in the back.
So if there wasn't video of this incident, would this guy be in jail?
No.
Absolutely not.
Are you joking? The cop would have said he had a gun. He would have planted a gun on the scene. Said the guy was armed. He had no choice. He feared for his life. You know, if they asked him how he got shot in the back, it'd be like he was about to whip the gun out, and he shot him before he was able to pull the gun around and point it at him. There would have been some story would have been concocted. Yet another reason why we need body cams on police, because then you don't allow this version of events to. I mean, one, you capture everything they're doing, and two, you don't rely on someone just happening to be there with that camera. If someone wasn't there filming, who knows what the fuck would have happened?
Yeah. Well, this guy is really guilty of being caught on tape in the extrajudicial killing of a random black person. That's basically what he did wrong. He allowed himself to be filmed while going about his daily business.
Yeah.
So
that's it. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, think about how a lot of these police departments oppose body cams too, even though every study that's been done and every fucking test run of these has been successful. As long as, cops actually followed the protocol and shit. You've seen a lessening in crime because of it, both like actual crime and fucking police involved crime. But they oppose it because they want to be able to fucking fix situations like this.
And even though the fact that it exonerates police on some cases, because there's been false accusations of excessive force where there have been none, and the person didn't realize the cop had a body cam. They're like, the cop beat me up, and then if you look at the tape, the cop never touched him, or they just did a professional stop, like, okay, you're free to go.
Of course.
So it's like it exonerates the police if they're innocent.
So you guys, I think this actually was from a body cam here. We remember this story.
Yeah,
the woman who was shot through the window for no real apparent reason.
Daring to look out her window. Oh, what a criminal.
So, this cop's skulking around the property. I guess trying to ascertain what's going on.
Yeah, knock on the door.
Skip to the part where he's on the side of the house here.
Yeah, it's so irregular that someone looks out their window and someone is walking around armed with a flashlight in their backyard.
What's going on here?
Put your hands up! Show me your hands! If it wasn't in her hands, it doesn't matter if there's a weapon there. Okay. So he saw a weapon and he saw her standing there. So that was justification. Oh, look, if you freeze frame it, you can see a weapon.
This is America. You're allowed to have a gun in your house. It wasn't pointed at him, as far as I could tell.
Yeah, it looked like it was pointed the opposite direction from him. So what was he worried about? The ricochet effect? She was going to grab, or she's going to do like a roll, grab the gun, blow him away, and then he wouldn't be going home to his family?
Not only that, if someone's walking around in your backyard with a flashlight, you might grab a gun to fucking defend your property. You don't know that's the fucking police. And even if you do, you might still fucking feel the need to defend yourself because holy shit, they're crazy.
Wouldn't he ever knock on her door and identify himself as a police officer?
Not once. Police, teen killed herself with gunshot through her mouth while handcuffed behind her back.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. So let's get this straight. She's in the back she's in the car. She's cuffed. She managed to get a gun and shoot herself in the mouth with her handcuffs behind her back. So
that's pretty talented.
Story. Yeah, she's
like a magician, dude.
It's too bad she's dead because she was really flexible, man. It's crazy. According to medical examiner's office in Virginia, a 19-year-old woman died from a gunshot wound through her mouth while her hands were cuffed behind her back. It was ruled a suicide. The finding matched the account of Sarah Wilson's death by the Chesapeake Police Department that said she shot herself while officers were trying to detain her boyfriend. Wilson was the passenger of a car pulled over by police on July 25th, 2018. The 19-year-old's boyfriend, Holden Medlin, 27, was driving when they were stopped by two police officers, one patrol and one from narcotics. Separating the two from the car, one officer handcuffed Wilson while the other struggled to detain Medlin, who was reportedly combative and tried to flee the scene. While officers tried to get control of Medlin, Wilson was left alone and reportedly was able to get a gun, possibly from inside the car where she was a passenger, contorted her body and shot herself through the mouth while she was wearing handcuffs, according to police spokesman.
Well, so what's the motivation? They get stuck. They're getting me. She's detained or arrested by the police. Probably at that point only detained, but let's even say she was going to get arrested. So she decides to grab a gun she has concealed and end her life because she doesn't want to go to jail.
Yep. She was handcuffed, and she managed to put a revolver in her mouth while handcuffed. That's what the investigators told me last night. The dead woman's mother, Dawn Wilson, told the NBC News, in all of her life, I have never known of her to shoot a gun, own a gun, or even hold a gun.
Okay, so they're saying her hands were behind her back. She was handcuffed, right?
Yes.
Okay, how the fuck is that possible? I'm putting my hands behind my back now, and I'm trying to figure out how. There's no fucking way. I don't care how flexible. You can be the most flexible motherfucker ever. Like, how the fuck are you gonna get that around? Okay, now
I'm sure that there's some fucking like crazy Cirque du Soleil Russian out there that could fucking make this happen. I mean, I've seen people dislocate their shoulders and get out of like behind the back handcuffs.
She must have been one of them.
But they're alleging that this like teenage girl was that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not only that, but it's not like they didn't say like she got the handcuffs around the front of her somehow. They said she shot herself in the mouth, but with her hands behind her back. So I mean, like,
well, it's plausible if she slipped them and put them forward, and she had them in front of herself, and then she shot herself. Like, I could see that being possible. But with keeping her hands behind her back the entire time, I don't see how the fuck you could do it. Maybe it is possible, but to me, it seems almost impossible.
You would have to basically like skirt your arms way up your back and put them all the way to one side and kind of tuck the gun into like, your side, like into your ribs, and kind of angle it upwards, and then bend your mouth down towards the gun. And maybe what if you
put your hands, like, instead of trying to bring them up, you tucked them down underneath your ass?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that you could manipulate and then leaned forward.
Yeah, maybe she was just very, you lean forward, suck that gun like fucking a big fucking cock of death, and boom. Sounds good.
Yeah, maybe it is possible, but it seems very unlikely.
Here's another little story. This is just a picture of a scene. This happened. Remember this picture? The man on the ground with his hands up is a social worker. He was begging the police not to shoot his autistic patient who wouldn't put down his toy truck. While in this very position on the ground with his hands up, the police shot him, the social worker. That officer was acquitted today. This is America.
What?
Wow.
But, the officer had a great defense, though, for what happened. He was trying to shoot the autistic guy. He wasn't trying. Yeah, he wasn't trying to shoot the social worker. He was trying to shoot the autistic guy. So, I mean, case closed, right?
Look, I was trying to shoot the guy that his hands were in the air. I was trying to shoot the guy with the toy fucking truck. Oh my God. I just, it's unconscionable. Like, I don't know how you fucking do this job like this, and you shoot a guy who's unarmed with his hands in the air, and your intended target was an autistic man playing with a truck. Like, all right.
Acquitted.
Yeah, of course. Innocent.
So, the police don't always, what the hell is this shit? Saying what I fucking pulled. Son of a bitch. Hold on.
No shit, Orange County's having some coronavirus death.
Yeah, well, aren't we all? All right, so this is...
Aren't we all?
Get out of here. What is it doing? When I click that, it fucking, like, just...
I guess
it's the article?
I guess that the article is probably behind a paywall.
All right, whatever. So we can just skip that one. There was a story about a guy who named Kelly Thomas, who was basically just, he was mentally ill, he was homeless. The police beat him to death.
Of course.
It was a great story. All right, so this one needs a little bit of context. So they're about to come up on a guy here. This is I believe it's North Carolina, which is an open carry state. So the guy has a gun in a holster on his side. The police tell him to drop the gun multiple times, but he can't drop the gun without reaching into the holster and grabbing the gun out of it.
Right.
But of course, as soon as he reaches for it, he's shot. and you'll see.
Let me see hands now! Now! I'm crossing. I'm crossing. Get out of the way. Sir, put the gun down.
Put it down. Put it down now.
Put the gun down. He's got a gun. He's got a gun. Drop the gun. Drop the weapon.
Ma'am, get out of the way.
Ma'am, get out of the way.
Drop the gun.
Drop the gun.
Drop it.
Drop it now.
Drop it.
Drop the weapon.
Drop it. I said
drop it.
Drop it.
Drop the weapon now.
Put it on the ground.
Put it on the ground.
Put the gun on the ground. Put it
on the ground.
So let's look at the motion of that gun.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
he is attempting to comply with the commands of these cops and put the gun on the ground as they've instructed, and he is shot for his trouble.
Well, there's that.
So it's pretty hard to hear his last words there, but he says, "You told me to," and then he dies.
Wonderful.
So another day in America. 72-year-old grandma shot dead as SWAT raided her home to arrest her son for marijuana.
Yep.
Wow.
That's the example I used earlier. Unfortunately, just another fucking day in this country, huh?
Definitely commensurate force used here.
Yeah.
Show it to pot.
Geraldine Townsend, 72, was shot and killed this week as a Bartlettsville SWAT team executed a search warrant to bust. So there's no fucking compelling reason to send a SWAT team for this kind of fucking shit.
No.
There's no reason to send a SWAT. You can send a couple of fucking officers over to handle this, and if they encounter trouble, then you can send a fucking stronger force.
You know what they do?
You don't need to jump right to fucking SWAT
this
team.
guy, don't let the guy even know the police are onto him. He goes to fucking Arby's to get a fucking roast beef sandwich, and when he gets there to get out of his car, two officers the cops just drive up to him, block him in, arrest him, and then go to his house without incident.
Yeah. So when the heavily armed and likely militarized men kicked in the door of their home, Townsend, likely not knowing who the home invaders were, picked up a pellet gun and fired off 2 pellets. A Bartlettsville officer then shot and killed her. While taking Livingston into custody, officers heard shots and 2 officers were struck with some type of projectile, Hastings said. Bartlettsville police captain Jay Hastings said the 72-year-old pointed some type of high-powered pellet handgun at officers who were forced to return fire. Townsend was struck in the chest and later died at the hospital. Livingston, the subject of the search warrant, was arrested as he watched his mother get shot in the chest and bleed out on the floor of their home.
Wonderful.
Great. Yeah, definitely. Like, there's just no reason for a middle-of-the-night raid in this for marijuana, dude. There's just no reason.
There's no reason for a raid for marijuana, period. All right, but now it's time to move on. And, of course, there's, of course, way more police killings than this, and plenty of very famous ones, too.
We're scratching the surface.
Yeah,
here.
this is barely scratching the surface of that. But these are just a few vivid examples of the police showing up and killing you. But they won't just kill you. They'll also kill your kids.
Well, that's a relief.
So here's some video of the police shooting an autistic kid.
If you're like us, you're probably at home.
That's not the autistic kid.
Mo Roca.
Well, it is, but it's not the autistic
one,
kid in question.
Not the one that got shot, though.
Yeah.
So give it a second. CBS has to blow its smoke up our ass really quick.
Look, you gotta stay safe. We're gonna get you through it all,
Dude, I'm in the camp of people who I gotta look away from these. I can't be watching people get shot. I'm too high strung.
Too high strung.
So I'm over here closing my eyes. Are there any close my eyes boys in the
judge released
in the comments
showing 2
Probably.
deputy city marshals in Marksville, Louisiana, opening fire on a car.
Louisiana,
and
boy.
A 6-year-old autistic.
Tell you what, we take justice
Happened
seriously
back in
here.
November, the officers are.
So
This
they're
police
chasing this
body
car.
camera video captured
I guess
the
this guy will
moment
describe it.
when 2 city marshals shot a hail of 18 bullets into Christopher Few's SUV last November. And when they discovered his 6-year-old autistic son Jeremy sitting in the passenger seat, he was struck 5 times in the head and the chest.
Yeah, so
Wonderful.
you notice one of those things on the previous list we looked at of measures the police can take to not kill a bunch of people.
Yeah.
One of them was not to open fire on a fucking vehicle.
Yeah.
And this kind of stuff will be the reason why you don't do that, because you don't know who the fuck's in that vehicle. Even if the driver has done something to warrant lethal force, there could be innocent bystanders in that fucking vehicle. And there was in that instance. Court rules police officer who shot 10-year-old is protected by qualified immunity. A woman whose 10-year-old child was shot by a police officer will receive no compensation for her child's medical bills after a federal court ruled last week in Corbett versus Vickers that the officer was protected by qualified immunity. In 2014, a criminal suspect named Christopher Barnett entered Amy Corbett's front yard where a group of children were also playing. The police soon followed in pursuit of Barnett. The officer held Barnett and the children at gunpoint, ordering them all on the ground. All complied, including Barnett, who was apprehended without incident. But Bruce, the Corbett family dog, sauntered over to Coffee County, Georgia Deputy Sheriff Matthew Vickers, who attempted to shoot the animal. Regardless of the fact that no one appeared threatened by Bruce, as the 11th Circuit put it, Vickers missed. The dog briefly retreated, then reappeared, prompting Vickers to shoot at the animal once more. Vickers missed the dog again, but this time he hit Corbett's 10-year-old child in the back of the knee. That child was lying on the ground a mere 18 inches from Vickers, according to court documents.
This fucking Vickers dude is a fucking sociopath.
Yeah.
He's gonna shoot a fucking dog with there's a bunch of kids on the ground.
So
Bro, what the fuck is wrong with these fucking
you
people?
You show up, you're holding a fucking family, including some young kids at gunpoint. The family dog shows up, isn't even being aggressive, but he's trying to shoot the dog because he's a psycho piece of shit.
That dog has 9 fucking lives, dude. He must have brought some from the fucking family cat or whatever, dude. That he's lucky that cop's a shit shot.
Ends up shooting the kid instead in the back of the knee, and then the courts rule that this is all legit. This is everything that happened was fine. This is all according to plan. Nothing wrong here.
You know, look, the court can say whatever the court wants, but everyone knows the court is wrong. They're just protecting the state. They're protecting the police department as a whole. You know,
I mean, at least there was a dissenting judge that said no reasonable officer would engage in such recklessness. So
yeah, so there was a voice of reason, but it was drowned out. So there you go. A 7-year-old girl accidentally shot by SWAT team. Confused after throwing a deafening and blinding flashbang into a home, police mistakenly shot and killed a sleeping 7-year-old. 7-year-old Ayanna Jones was sleeping on the couch next to her grandmother in Detroit, Michigan, when a SWAT team threw a flashbang through a window, which landed on her blanket. Seconds after Ayanna's blanket caught fire, the SWAT team stormed through the door and mistakenly shot Ayanna through the neck, killing her. Flashbangs developed for wartime raids have caused severe burns, set homes on fire, induced fatal heart attacks, and confused police officers into thinking they are under gunfire.
Wonderful.
Wow.
You see what a life gets reduced down to with this shit. Oh, let's go in there. Oh, shit, terrorist or whatever. Oh, it was actually a 7-year-old sleeping.
Yeah. In her fucking Disney princess bed. Whoops.
Yeah, new video sheds light on deadly Fresno police shooting of unarmed teen suspect.
If this is the one I'm thinking about, no. This I remember this one. I think my mom sent me this one.
Did she?
Yeah.
April 15th, 2017. 16-year-old Isaiah Marietta Golding leaps a fence and runs from the police after a traffic stop. He makes it 8 steps before an officer on the other side of the fence pulls the trigger and shoots him in the back of the head. Isaiah crumples to the ground. Police say there is more to this story than just how it ended.
What possibly could there be? There's
yet again.
There is absolutely nothing, like, unless the fucking rest of the story is, you know, he's infected with the T virus and we have to shoot him before he infects others.
I mean, I look, guys. I know that it ends with a horrible fucking execution-style killing in the middle of a suburban neighborhood, but listen to the rest of the story before you make a judgment.
Let's hear the rest of. I actually want to hear what they have to say.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Body cam footage from one of the officers shows that it started about a minute earlier when a car that was driven by
smeared
Isaiah's
grease on the
brother
fucking body
was stopped
cam?
at a shopping center. Both had been suspected of a deadly shooting that happened the day before. Isaiah takes off running. Police start chasing him across a road, then over the fence, and that's when you can hear the.
So none of that even remotely justifies what happened. It doesn't even come close.
I mean, look, even if that's true about them, even if it's true he engaged those behaviors prior and he's guilty, he's still, we have a system of justice where he's supposed to be apprehended.
I don't care if the motherfucker is the worst serial killer in American history. If he's running, you don't shoot him in the back of the head. That's just a rule in my book.
I mean, who knows if that guy would have got away or not? I mean, what is the cop thinking? Oh, he might kill someone else, so I'm preemptively saving a life by killing him. I mean, is that the justification? It seems basically what they're saying.
I'm wondering, hold on.
Fatal shot. Sergeant Ray Villalbazo, the officer identified in the lawsuit.
Anyway.
Dude, I have an idea for a way to fix all this. It's a great idea.
Oh, yeah?
You guys want to hear it?
Sure.
Yeah. All right. So basically, now hear me out. You start off by rounding up 3 super powerful psychics, right?
Right.
You hook them into a machine that coalesces their psychic visions of the near future. And you set them about the task of focusing in on, murders and crimes and shit. And then when you finally, when they all have the same psychic vision, you send like a high-tech police force to arrest the person before they can commit the crime.
Holy goddamn shit.
Dude,
yes.
It sounds like a movie I watched one time, but it's definitely not ripping that off. Definitely not.
I don't know what you're talking about, Scotty. This is totally a bolt from the blue.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I saw something called Minority Report that sounds really similar, but it's not the same. That's not the same.
Oh God, that stupid fucking Tom Cruise movie? No, nothing like that. Except for the psychics and the future and the police force with flying stuff. But you know what I mean? Like,
aside from that, totally different story.
But yeah, a completely different idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even close.
I admit it was a bad example, guys. It was a bad example. Don't game.
So, Georgia teen holding Wii remote shot by cops at his front door.
Yeah, you made your kids. Oh, good.
They put a wrist strap on those for a reason. You know what I mean? Those can be deadly. Those Wiimotes.
He'd have whipped at the cop. They could have hit the cop in the head, killing him.
A Georgia teen who dreamed of being a Marine was killed by police at his front door while wielding only a Wii remote, the family lawyer claims. Christopher Roop, 17, of U Harley, was fueled by a single bullet. Felled, not fueled. Felled by a single bullet.
Felled? What is he, a great redwood tree?
He was felled.
He was felled by a single bullet when an unidentified officer arrived at the family mobile home to execute a probation violation warrant against his father, authorities said. Meanwhile, police assert that the teen pointed a gun directly at a female officer, prompting her to blast the boy in the chest. The circumstances of the tragic shooting last Friday night are under review at the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. It doesn't add up, family attorney Cole Law told WSB-TV. He heard a knock at the door. He asked who it was. There was no response, so he opened the door, and upon opening the door, he was immediately shot in the chest. Roop, 17, was a member of the ROTC at Woodland High School and was planning to sign up for the Marines. His friend said he was a good kid. His pal William Corson told WSBT. So don't hold a Wii remote.
Yeah, stop playing that Wii.
Yeah, man, you should have known. You should have known that Wii was going to.
Was the kid dressed in that whatever that is?
Yeah, they thought he was an enemy combatant.
Maybe so. Because he looks pretty intimidating in that picture if you look at him.
Criminal has entered the arena with a Wii remote.
So number 5 reason why the police are not your friends is they'll kill your pets.
We've already heard about them trying to do it.
Yeah, vicious rabid animals.
The growing epidemic of cops shooting family dogs. In too much of policing today, officer safety has become the highest priority. It trumps the rights and safety of suspects. It trumps the rights and safety of bystanders. It's so important, in fact, that an officer's subjective fear of a minor wound from a dog bite is enough to justify using potentially lethal force, in this case at the expense of a 4-year-old girl. And this isn't the first time. In January, an Iowa cop shot and killed a woman by mistake while trying to kill her dog. Other cops have shot other kids, other bystanders, their partners, their supervisors, and even themselves while firing their guns at a dog. That mindset is then, of course, all the more problematic when it comes to using force against people. The absurd cruelties of the American police state are reaching newer heights. Consider that if you kill a dog, your life, you could face a longer prison sentence than if you'd murdered someone or abused a child. If a cop kills your dog, however, there will be little to no consequences for that officer, not even a slap on the wrist. In this, as in so many other instances of official misconduct by government officials, the courts have ruled that cops have qualified immunity, a legal doctrine that incentivizes government officials to engage in lawless behavior without fear of repercussions. It is estimated that a dog is shot by police every 98 minutes. The Department of Justice estimates that at least 25 dogs are killed by police every day. The
You know what they call that, TJ?
What?
Target practice.
The Puppyside Database project estimates the number of dogs being killed by police as to be closer to 500 dogs a day, which translates to 182,000 dogs a year. In 1 out of 5 cases involving police shooting a family pet, a child was either in the police line of fire or in the immediate area of the shooting. For instance, a 4-year-old girl was accidentally shot in the leg. That's the one we heard about earlier, that cop got off with without any sort of problem. At a time when police are increasingly inclined to shoot first and ask questions later, it doesn't take much to provoke a cop into opening fire on an unnamed person guilty of doing nothing more than standing a certain way or moving a certain way or holding something, anything that police could misinterpret as a weapon. So let's take a look at some horrible videos of police shooting dogs.
Oh, man. Okay. Yeah, definitely not watching these.
Does it want to bite? Yeah.
So this dog, I mean, at least this dog is acting aggressive when the cop shoots it, but it still seems like anybody who knows dogs knows that this fucking dog is not going to actually attack this fucking cop.
Hey, back in town.
Hey! Back up! Back up! Back! Back!
So
Yeah,
it
wonderful.
mercifully cuts there when the moment the shot is fired, but you could see all of the context leading up there. So the cop, the dog, at least in that instance, was acting aggressive towards this cop, but I mean, that dog is just trying to ward you off of its fucking territory. It's not a dog that's actually trying to bite you is not going to fucking, you know, like the dog was obviously super fucking tentative in its fucking motions and shit. Like it was maintaining a distance. It just wants you to back away. That's all it fucking wants out of you.
We don't back down, TJ.
Yeah, but you know, I guess that his pride as a cop would have been threatened if he backed down to this dog instead of just shooting it. So here's some other instances.
Planning to sue the NYPD after an officer shot and killed her dog. The deadly encounter was caught on camera.
All right, this one is, I'm just going to warn you. I mean, like, they don't show the graphic bits of this, but just like the context of this is this dog does not even remotely look like a dog that poses even the slightest threat. It's like being fucking completely friendly and shit and wagging its tail.
In the Belmont section, the dog's owner cracked open her door after hearing police in the hallway of her building. When the pit bull walked towards an officer wagging its tail, that's when the officer shot it in the
Nope.
Let's look at the dog again. This is the fucking dog's body
Oh
language.
man, I'm in fear for my life. Look at that thing wagging its tail.
Police in the hallway
Look
of
at this
her building.
fucking dog.
When the pit bull
This is
walked
totally normal
towards
behavior for a pit
an
bull.
officer
This guy's
wagging
just
its
afraid of
tail.
dogs. And I understand being afraid, but that doesn't mean the dog's going to attack you.
Why are the police in this country such scared little pussies? Like what?
Yeah, I don't know.
What is wrong with these people? Because normal people can encounter a dog in a day-to-day situation and not feel like in terror for their life. Like if that dog approached me on the street, I would not even fucking feel the slightest tinge of fear. Like not even a little bit.
You have a sense of a threat. I mean, in life, you can tell when something's a legitimate threat to you or not. Like seeing a fucking dog on the street. Like I've met aggressive dogs or seen them, and like it was obvious they were like, "Hey, this dog is not friendly. Stay the fuck away from it."
Right. That was a happy dog wagging its tail, just happy to see people.
It's, oh god. I mean, and look where he's at. He's in a fucking apartment building. If he misses, he could kill somebody else.
And they do miss sometimes. So here's another fucking horrible one.
It's disturbing surveillance video as a police officer knocks at a front door only to be shocked when a dog runs out straight at him. The cop reels back, then pulls out his gun, and in a moment too graphic to show, shoots the dog in the head 3 times.
He could have shot 1 time. He decided, he made that choice to shoot 3 times, and not in the leg.
Yeah, so another dog probably just going out to investigate who this person is at the door. But, you know, because it's a cop and they're fucking literally shitting their pants with fear every moment of every day, he fucking shoots the dog.
Yeah, if this cop goes to his like I'm sure some cops own dogs, right? If he goes to his buddy's house and the dog goes up to it, does he grab his gun? Oh my god, it's a threat! I mean, no, he just goes, hey buddy. You know, it's like, come on. These guys know it's not a fucking threat. They're just like, they're amped up on fear. They're amped up on aggression. And it's just like, nope, it's never de-escalate. It's never back down. It's never see what the dog is going to do to you. It's, nope, the dog is a threat to my life and must be dealt with.
There's a dog. It's a threat. Shoot it.
County Sheriff's deputies respond to a call on Antietam Drive Friday. They encounter a man and 2 dogs outside a home.
No, I don't have to step out there.
Okay, I'm going to come to you. Your dog gets aggressive. I'm going to shoot. Seconds later, Deputy Keenan Wallace pulls the trigger.
You can ask that neighbor right there. These dogs.
Step to the road?
No, I don't want to step to the road.
Are you kidding me?
It's literally, he literally shoots a little yappy dog that even if it did attack you, you could just like shove it away with your foot.
Yeah, kick it.
In a pissing contest, basically. You can hear it because him and this guy are having an exchange. He doesn't like it. It's like, well, you not gonna listen? Boom, your dog's dead. What now?
Yeah, and I'm a fucking officer of the law. I killed your dog because you didn't obey me.
The dog known as Reese's survives the shooting and eventually runs away from the house. At one point, Wallace approaches the homeowner with taser in hand.
I'm telling you, stay right here.
An investigation.
I'm telling you, stay right here. I'm telling you, stay right here. Yeah. So, real good.
It's just fucking horse shit, dude.
And the police wonder why in this country they feel under siege. It's because you do shit like this constantly. Oh, yeah, the public loves the police. Why are we so hated, guys? Why don't they like us? Gee, I wonder why.
Here's more.
Video from a body camera shows an emotional exchange between 18-year-old Courtney Livingston and Officer Michael Mays.
Are they A-okay? Are they...
I have blood all over my house. They're both walking that I know of.
Okay.
Minutes before, Officer Mays fired his weapon when he encountered the family's 2 pets in the backyard.
Hey, I'm going to sit there and say sorry.
So let's look at these more aggressive dogs here.
Unfortunate.
Sirach ran out first, stopped, and walked slowly towards the officer wagging his tail when the gun goes off. The second...
Okay. Oh my god.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know what to say about some of these. It's just like the lowest form of fucking humanity.
I can't
is
even
what we're looking at.
I can't even say what I want to say. Yeah.
And dog Rocco runs out and is also hit. Rocco goes out of frame. Sirach is seen struggling to get away.
Rocco physically is probably at 75%, emotionally and mentally. He's not there.
In a press conference, the dog's owner, Jennifer LeMay, and her attorney questioned the officer's response to a security alarm call.
The reasonable question is, well, why didn't you just ask her if the alarm was legitimate?
They also pointed to a section of muted video on the body camera. The police report describes the dog growling, though there's no sound to hear.
That dog is not fucking growling. You can just look at the dog and know it's not growling. You stupid fucking lying sack of shit. Like, you'd have to know nothing about the body language of fucking dogs to think that dog is even being remotely aggressive.
I mean, there are people out there that don't know a fucking thing about dogs, don't like them. Dude, there was a a fucking mail carrier that had to deliver a package to my doors before the whole quarantine thing happened. And Dinah was locked up in the bedroom barking. And when I opened the door, she was like, "Secure your dog, secure your dog." I was like, "He's in the bedroom. Are you sure he's not going to come out here?" I was like, "Do you hear him? You guys have heard Dinah bark. It's like the least intimidating thing." So,
dude, I'll tell you what, like my dogs went out and I got two bigger dogs, and like I always make sure that I lock them up just because shit like this, people freak out. Not even just cops, anyone. Like I've seen people like legitimately just like pants shitting fear.
Yo, you would see if a dog is growling. You're gonna see their teeth.
It is new perspective on a call that ultimately left LeMay's pets with lasting injuries.
They need to sue.
I'm glad the dogs at least lived in this instance.
Luckily.
I wish I could say otherwise about the fucking cop.
I mean, when you look at things like this, it's not when you have power. It's how you use that power. It's how you deal with situations like this. These are things that inform us about what kind of person you are. And when you use that power in such a wantonly violent way against something that's no threat to you, it just says everything you need to know about who the police are in this country. And a lot of them are just like this. It's shoot first, ask questions later. And it's like a joke. Oh, but it's like they're literally like that. This dog wasn't a threat to this guy. It's an abuse of power. They can hide behind the law and say it's legal, it's good, it's right, or whatever, but it's not. And we all know it's not.
Anyway, let's move on to the next one. This is number 6. Reason why the officer is not your friend. They will plant evidence.
Yeah, they ain't got nothing on you. They'll think of something. They'll come up with something.
She recorded. Get out the way. Run, girl. Go inside. Go inside. Go inside.
Let me grab the evidence.
So the cop was attempting to plant crack on that dude.
Not even a fucking good planting, dude. All he would do is, that's what they should have done. They should have, I'll tell you how they could have gotten away with it. Just arrest the guy, and they take him to jail. They go, oh, look what we found in the squad car. Crack cocaine.
Crack rock cocaine.
They're literally so brazen that all they have to do is just drop it on the ground next to him, go, look at what we found.
There's some crack.
Here's another cop caught planting evidence.
Have you ever seen this before?
No. No, what is that?
Hang out with Deputy Jackson here.
A year-long investigation discovered this guy had been planting drugs for years. Or at least for that year. We don't need all this fucking stupid music. Yeah,
well, he found some meth.
Oh my goodness, meth. No.
You know what this guy probably is doing too? He's probably running these people. They have pre-existing, not pre-existing, but they have priors. They have drug charges or other things in their criminal record. So if he busts them and says, "Oh, look, she's been gaffled up in a meth bust before,"
this is just, I don't even understand. Is this like to justify their budget? It's like to meet quotas and shit.
I have no idea.
Oh yeah, dude. They want to get you in the criminal justice system. They entirely want you in there to make money off of you.
There's nothing in the car. You'll be good to go. All right?
Serrano was recovering from abdominal surgery after being stabbed. He lifts his shirt to reveal his wound to one of the officers.
Look, I don't want to see that right now, okay?
I can get out. I can barely move, bro.
Once out of the car, the officers demand to search Serrano's jacket, and he refuses.
Do me a favor. Give me the jacket.
There's nothing in my jacket. I'm not getting searched for no reason.
As Serrano grows agitated, the officers become more aggressive.
Come on, relax.
Yo. Relax.
They grab him, push him to the ground, and handcuff him.
Take him down. Take him down. Relax.
Serrano remains on the ground, handcuffed and in visible pain for the rest of the traffic stop, until an ambulance arrives to take him to the hospital. The two officers, Kyle Erickson and Elmer Pastran, begin searching the car and Serrano's jacket. Officer Erickson tells Pastran that they need to find evidence.
Searching the rest of the car.
Yeah, we gotta find something.
Officer Erickson begins searching the car. He searches the passenger side area first, When he finds nothing, he can be heard murmuring an expletive. Erickson.
So there's part of your reason why right there, because they feel like, okay, we've already fucking taken this guy down
for no reason.
Yeah, and it's like, fuck. So he's searching for the car for some kind of reason to justify what they've already done, and they're like, fuck, I can't find anything.
But that other dude was like planting it on people. He just like had broken taillights and shit.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Oh, found some crack.
It's like, what the fuck? This is
found some meth.
Returns to Pastran to ask.
Anyway, this video is quite long, but the long and short of it is he's going to plant some marijuana on this guy.
He's going to go, ooh, look what we found.
Which I guess he's done before as well.
Of course. Well, that's probably just when like someone deals with them and they don't like the way they're being treated, the cops get all huffy and they go, okay, really? Oh, well, we're going to arrest your ass. Oh, what are you getting arrested for? Oh, weed. Come on.
Here's another
This is
one.
a common police technique used to bring charges against suspects not inclined to deal directly with cops. But often the undercover agent is a shady character facing his own charges. That makes him motivated to give police what they want, whether the suspect has done something wrong or not. Donald Andrews Jr. operates a so-called smoke shop on Mohawk Avenue in Scotia.
So-called
It sells
smoke
incense
shop,
and other
huh?
smoking paraphernalia, legal stuff, but material that might also be repurposed for other illicit activities.
Maybe.
It might be.
Might be, you know.
Those hookahs back there might be repurposed for some illegal activity.
Most people just smoke tobacco with them, but you know, there are some crazies out there.
If anyone buys that to smoke tobacco, they're like the one in a million.
Andrew's shop, sending an undercover informant in twice in March. The second time, Andrew's attorney, Kevin Rebrand, does play-by-play that appears to show the informant planting, then photographing crack cocaine that led to Andrew's arrest.
Donald turns, he comes in.
Wow, that was smooth.
Wow, yeah, good one.
This guy's a real operator here, this one.
I went in there, and there was, just right by the cash register, you had a fucking crack rock, you know? It's like, what?
Yeah, his place of business. Dude, if he was selling drugs out of his shop, why would he just have it lying on the counter like,
he wouldn't?
Hey, want some crack?
So dumb.
How'd you do it, Bo Cephas? Well, I just kind of oafishly reached into my pocket, right? And then I walked over to the counter and very loudly slapped it down on the counter and then took a picture of it. Well, that'll hold up.
The police actually arrested this shop owner over that.
Of course he did.
So what the fuck is this? Get out of here. The seventh and final reason, well, not the final reason, there's actually way more reasons, but the seventh reason we'll talk about today is that the police will lie in court.
No.
And elsewhere too.
This one I don't agree with this one. I don't believe this one.
Why the prevalence of lying by the police is a problem for the innocent. The New York Times, liberal rag that it is, published an article yesterday that documents the persistence of lies told by the police to gain a conviction. Through their investigation, the Times discovered that more than 25 instances since 2015, judges or prosecutors concluded that a New York City police officer likely presented false testimony. Such cases, most of which are sealed, were identified through interviews with lawyers, police officers, and current or former judges. The Times article highlights the common lies about which police testify, including saying they saw a gun in a suspect's hand or waistband when it was actually out of view, saying they witnessed an arrest for which they were not actually present, claiming they watched a drug deal occur only to later recant or to be proven to have lied. In two recent cases, officers appeared to have given false statements about eyewitness testimony. These cases, say the Times, are particularly troubling because erroneous identification by witnesses have been a leading cause of wrongful convictions.
Wait, are you trying to tell me, TJ, that the police lie to further the ends of their investigation?
Yes.
And their criminal convictions, and to make themselves look better and look like they're doing the right thing? I can't believe that.
Why do police lie? According to the Times, in many circumstances, it's to avoid restrictions against unconstitutional stop and frisks. In other cases, the motive is to convict someone regardless of whether or not that person actually committed a crime. Some officers have stated they are pressured by their supervisors to write more tickets, to reach an arrest quota, or to lose a case, or to close a case. The 25 cases identified by the Times are a small portion of those in which officers are believed to have lied. This is because a large majority of cases result in plea deals. With a plea deal, if an officer lies, it is unlikely to be exposed. It is rare for a case to progress to a hearing where a defendant can question an officer's version of events.
Oh, dude, I'll tell you what. If you guys have ever been to like a court and seen the proceedings, this is what happens. People mainly go in and they cut a deal where it's like the judge will give you this as long as you plead guilty or no contest. You know, if you go to trial, then there's all this scrutiny about what happened. Oh, well, then here, let's see the version of events. Let's see if there's video. Let's see all the evidence. But most times, if you just go in there and go, "Were you driving drunk?" Yep. Okay, we're gonna give you a diversion thing. You're gonna pay a big fine. Da da da. So the state gets its money. You're gonna go piss in a cup, every month, and that's it. They don't need to prove anything. It's just you basically did it for them. You've given them everything they need to basically just treat you as a commodity.
There's no fear of being caught, a Brooklyn officer who has been on the force for almost a decade told the Times. You're not going to go to trial and nobody is going to be cross-examined. The percentage of cases that progress to the cross-examination of an officer is quite small. According to an article in 2016, for example, there were slightly more than 185 guilty pleas, dismissals, or other non-trial outcomes for each criminal case in New York City that went to trial and resulted in a verdict. There were 1,460 trial verdicts in criminal cases that year, while 270,304 criminal cases were resolved without a trial.
So, I mean, we're talking about a tiny little fraction of cases that ever have a chance of going to trial.
If you want to go to trial, let's say, Paul, like, let's say you're driving drunk and you say, hey, no, I'm innocent. There was a medication mix-up or something. If you're even going to go to trial, you're going to go to court. You're going to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. You're going to wait all day because everyone else before you is going to go guilty, guilty, guilty. Then you're going to have a chance for your trial before a judge. Because I saw the guy who used to be friends with Matt got a DUI thing, and he had to wait to go. I went to court with him. He had to wait all day. And only two people went to trial the entire day. One was actually a local newscaster and him. That was it. Everyone else just pled guilty.
Guilty, 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 guilty.
You saw the mechanism where the state works. It's most people that have no idea if they don't have a lawyer, they can't afford one. They go in there and basically the public defender is going to go, well, if you do this, judge is going to give you this. Do you want to do that? So it's rigged. It's all fucking rigged. It's like, hey, if you go in there and you do this, then you're not going to get this really bad thing. You can go to jail.
Well, it's a strong it's a strong arm scheme. It's a look. You can fight it if you want, but it's just going to be worse for you if you do.
Yeah.
So just take this.
Yep. Just don't fight it. Don't fight it.
And in that kind of scenario, it's no wonder police feel no compunction about, yeah, I seen it. I seen this. I seen that. Blah, 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 blah.
And dude, TJ, by the way, in the case, which is Matt, TJ,
yeah.
His attorney, when he was acquitted, told us in his 25 years of practicing, that was the first time in this parish, St. Tammany Parish, he sees someone get acquitted for DUI. Literally, 25 years.
We found 85,000 cops who have been investigated for misconduct. Now you can read their records. At least 85,000 law enforcement officers across the USA have been investigated or disciplined for misconduct over the past decade, an investigation by USA Today Network found. Officers have beaten members of the public, planted evidence, and used their badges to harass women. They have lied, stolen, dealt drugs, driven drunk, and abused their spouses. Despite their role as public servants, the men and women who swear an oath to keep communities safe can generally avoid public scrutiny for their misdeeds. The records of their misconduct are filed away, rarely seen by anyone outside their departments. Police unions and their political allies have worked to put special protections in place, ensuring some records are shielded from public view or even destroyed. Reports from USA Today, its 100-plus affiliate newsrooms, and the nonprofit Invisible Institute in Chicago have spent more than a year creating the biggest collection of police misconduct records. Obtained from thousands of state agencies, prosecutors, police departments, and sheriffs, the records detailed at least 200,000 incidents of alleged misconduct, much of it previously unreported. The records obtained included more than 110,000 internal affairs investigations by hundreds of individual departments and more than 30,000 officers who were decertified by 44 state oversight agencies. So, I mean, this report details all kinds of fucking shit, but one of them is, lying the problem of police perjury, and look, at the end of the day, it just seems like these cops, they have a situation where they have ultimate power, zero accountability, and they can pretty much do whatever they want.
The answer is surveillance. It's body cams, 100%. The only time that a cop, can perpetrate a crime against another person is during his interaction with that person as a police officer. So anytime you're on the job, everything you do is fucking recorded. And then there's no dispute. There's no, you know what I mean? You can exonerate a cop immediately if you've got the entire interaction on fucking body cam.
This is another article about this kind of police perjury thing I'll read a little bit of before we wrap things up. During any given criminal case, certain facts in police testimony that appear to be banal or happenstance, such as the placement of a hand or someone dropping a bag of drugs, seem reasonable when taken by themselves. But looking at police testimony in similar cases, if some facts continue to appear in case after case, an observer may come to a disquieting conclusion. Police are lying. Test-a-lying is the colloquial term for the police practice of lying on official documentation or in court under oath. Typically, test-a-lying is used to justify searches in drug cases that would otherwise be deemed illegal. The exclusionary rule established in Mapp versus Ohio states that evidence gathered from a search that violates the Fourth Amendment cannot be used in court against a defendant. If, however, a police officer testifies that he saw the drugs dropped into plain view, he has probable cause and thus legal permission to conduct a search without a warrant.
Have you ever seen one of those shows like Live PD or Cops? That's why I always hear cops say, "It was in plain view. I just saw it. Like you had the drugs just right there in plain view. What am I supposed to do?"
Right. So, so of course they just lie constantly.
Well, it's an incredible standard. The public is pretty much always like the way the police look at it. The public's always lying. They're always full of shit. Never telling the truth. The utmost scrutiny, in certain cases. When it comes to police, pragmatically, we have to assume, okay, well, if these criminals are fallible, if these people are fallible, then the police are surely fallible. They're subject to the same emotional states as the public, the same bad habits that other people have, like lying, cheating, stealing. They're not immune from those things. So they should be treated with the same rigor and scrutiny that they treat the public with. But when it's pointed back at them, it's like, nope, we just need to trust them.
They should actually be treated with. They should be treated with more rigor and scrutiny than a member of the fucking general public.
Well,
their actions should be literally detailed down to every time, whenever they're on duty, whenever they're doing something in furtherance of investigating a crime or stopping a crime. Every bit of that is documented. And, I don't think that average citizens should go through that, although we're the targets of that type of shit. They know what we're buying. They know where we are. They know what we're talking about. But these guys have no accountability. At least a lot of police departments now have no accountability whatsoever. So, they can lie. They can shoot your dog. They can shoot your grandma. They can just sprinkle some crack on you and take you to jail for the rest of your life. Isn't that great?
But trust us. We're your friends.
So, look, obviously, police have to exist.
Of course.
But in their current state, I don't think they meet the criteria of fulfilling the social need that, justifies their existence in the first place. So obviously, I'm not here fucking saying the police needs to be abolished or something.
Anarchy.
But I am saying that there needs to be some pretty serious reforms, and maybe we'll get into another. I don't know if we'll get into that. I guess we should get into it a little bit here. Obviously the body cams are a good idea. That should be something that happens. I also think, no more hiring fucking, there shouldn't be, there's no more 18-year-old fucking cops and shit. That shit needs to stop.
I told Taylor that we talked about this issue before, and I said, look, a lot of people that get hired for police forces are ex-military. I was like, in my mind, that should be a disqualifying factor.
And you know what? And actually, there's some evidence to back up what you're saying, because it's been shown that police who are ex-military are way more likely to fire their weapons.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, it's the approach, because they get sent overseas and it's like, you're in hostile territory. You're surrounded by enemies. And they come back and you see the mentality. It's like, and you see it. They'll say, I want to get home safe. I want to get back home to my family. And it's like, it's crazy that you're saying that, because how many police officers have made sure that people will never go home and see their families again?
And this, this mentality, like there, what needs to happen really is like, there needs to be a mentality change in police where like these kind of like fearful pussies that seem to make up our police force now, that fire at like a friendly wagging its tail dog that's like approaching them in a very non-threatening manner. Like those dudes, like any fucking whiff of that just needs to be like, you're gone off the police. You're too much of a pussy to serve. So, yeah, those guys need to go. There needs to be a lot more like of a pickiness and rigidness about the standards of the cops we have. And, if we're going to raise those standards, I think you also have to fucking raise what, who qualifies, and there's actually been stories, and I've talked about them before, where like people with certain like high IQs are like disqualified from being on the police. Like police departments actually discriminate against people over a certain level of intelligence.
It's also way too easy to become a cop in this country. Other countries, it's like a very rigorous process. You can't just stroll in and be like, I'm going to go to police academy and become a cop.
It needs to be the opposite. Like we need more intelligent cops. We need like a police officer who has the kind of power that a police officer has should be a cut above the average citizen, not just fucking any schlub that you've given a fucking badge and a gun and said, go police the community.
They should have a mental health screening. Like, what kind of person is this? Do you want to be a police officer? Is this someone that's going to abuse their power? Is it someone that has the propensities to do those things? They should be disqualified based on that. Like, someone like me, I should never be a cop. I'd be a cop on a power trip instantly, but I recognize that in myself, so I would never want to be a cop.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, a lot needs to be done. We could get into much more specific stuff, but I mean, like, it's pretty fucking clear when you have a state of affairs. And I mean, look, you can't, I'm not putting all this on the fucking cops, because a lot of this clearly is the fault of the fucking system they exist within too.
And our American culture in general. I mean,
that's the biggest thing that has to change is the culture. The cops are only as powerful as we allow them to be. And there's this cop worship and military worship culture in this country that's got to stop. Like, they need to be looked at, and not with disdain, but I don't think they would be looked at with disdain if they were just policing and not fleecing and murdering and pillaging and appropriating. You know what I mean?
I didn't even get into the rapes. I mean,
I'm sure there's tons of them. There's tons of them.
I know you don't like firefighters, TJ, but look how people view firefighters. No one's going around like, I fucking hate firefighters. Maybe there's a couple of crazies yelling at, that they're evil, but, firefighters don't just go help people. They don't have the same reputation the police have.
Yeah, because there's
more public function.
I can't think of the last time a firefighter I never hear stories like firefighter murders black dude, firefighter fucking kills this dog, firefighter stole all my shit. And got away with it.
Firefighters have been arrested by the police for doing their jobs because they just refuse. They're like, I'm here to help these people. Like, no, you're gonna go fucking jail, bitch. It's like, okay, so you're gonna arrest like a fire captain for trying to fucking help somebody.
I mean, yeah, I saw a cop fucking screaming at an EMS guy that he was gonna arrest him or whatever because he was trying to do his fucking job, and the cop was trying to be a fucking big ass state thug or whatever the fuck was going on. But yeah, anyway, so the officer's not your friend. Could he be someday? Maybe. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Are there good ones? Sure.
But, at the end of the day, the fucking institution itself is rotten, and it's rife with opportunities for abuse. There's nothing to discourage that sort of corruption. And that's why you're never going to, like, until some fucking basic shit is changed and people actually recognize the necessity of reform and America gets over its fucking worship of the police, there's not going to be these substantive changes that need to happen. So that's just where we're at. You guys have anything to add?
Well, I think that about sums it up.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to Deep Fat Fried. We'll see you next time with another delightful episode, which hopefully will not involve any more fucking dogs getting shot, because that was a rough one.
Yeah, please, no more of that.